Hi, welcome to Thanatology Thursday. I want to talk about what is grievable. Often from my clients and just in passing conversations from people, they ask, is this grief worthy? And I've written about what is grievable and the hierarchy of grief, or this griefarchy that we tend to use as our default to compete with each other and our respective experiences of loss. One thing that I would offer as a grief doula and a certified thanatologist is that when we are bereaved and our hearts have been broken, the last thing we need to do is to feel minimized or disenfranchised or silenced in our grief. So grief, our natural and involuntary response to a life loss, occurs when we are attached to something, to someone, to our beliefs, to our values. And when that attachment has been severed, the natural and involuntary response is to say, ouch, I'm hurt, I'm suffering, I'm in pain. So when people feel dismissed, unacknowledged, discarded, not seen in their experience of grief, they tend to suppress instead of express the grief that naturally arises in us when we've suffered a life loss. So, what do? Well, the first thing we need to do as a society is to become more grief and loss literate. We have forgotten what it means to show up for people. And there is no magic bullet. There is no getting over, putting behind, forgetting the people that we love. Research will tell us it is not necessary, not needed, not useful, not helpful, not healthy. Continuing bonds is a beautiful theory that reminds us that just because a person died doesn't mean the relationship with that person has to die too. This doesn't mean that we deny the fact that our person has died, or that our dreams are shattered, or that we don't know who we are now that we suffered through this life-altering loss. But it does mean that we need time to grieve this loss, this experience that has us questioning sometimes everything, our identity, right? Our future. So when people ask me, what is grievable? What is grief-worthy? First thing I do is say, well, do you want to talk about it? What is it that you're grieving? And then I allow that to guide the conversation. Most of the time, our grief is this normal response. And when it is witnessed, when it is acknowledged, we shift. Our bodies shift. We tend to allow the experience to then inform what comes next. So, when we see someone who's suffering from a life-altering loss, when we see someone in pain, show up, shut up, and listen, and let that be your guide. From me to you, remember when we do this grief work, it works.